Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Paula with Paula's Imperfect Plans. On my channel, it is all about my planning and budgeting journey as a wife, a mother, a farmer, and a professional in a nonprofit, sharing with you everything that I utilize to be efficient and effective for my family of 5. So what I'm going to do, I haven't actually done a monthly budget in literal years because I do everything by paycheck, and I have had my paycheck set so I just know what is due with each paycheck and when I have to pay them based on when they, which paycheck I need to pay them with so that they are paid by the time that they're due. But I am doing some revamping of some things since I've kind of started on this journey and really started watching channels to improve upon my current system. So I'm going to go over a monthly budget with you. I know it's like mid-May already, but this is going to be my May budget. And then I'm actually going to set up a monthly budget for June. And June is going to look different. I mean, this is going to be pretty generic, but June is one of our magic months, golden months, whatever you call it. My husband and I both get paid every 2 weeks, so there are 2 months of the year that have 3 paychecks when we typically budget everything to be covered with 2. So we have an extra paycheck, I guess, if that's how you look at it. So I just wanted to go through kind of a quick, I don't know about quick, but a monthly budget. As I'm trying to kind of figure out some more sinking funds and variable expenses and how I can better budget for them each month and break those things down. So starting with income, in a typical two paycheck month, make about that amount. And my husband makes about this amount. And so I think it depends very much on where you're living, on whether that is low income. I mean, obviously our income is not super high, but we do live in rural Iowa, so the cost of living is not probably as high as it is other places. It's a lot higher than it used to be, but that happens. We also have, and I typically budget this, I don't budget this and I leave this to cover miscellaneous stuff as I am learning about what our miscellaneous expenses are and how to categorize those into things like clothing, household and personal care, etc., to be able to better budget rather than just having a lump sum of miscellaneous expenses. But we do get, at this point in time, this is actually going to quit starting July 1st. So it's about dependent care flex. So it's pulled out of my husband's paycheck pre-tax, and then I submit my daycare bill showing that I paid more than that in daycare because I do, and then I get that amount reimbursed to me every 2 weeks as soon as it's pulled out of his check, and I can show a receipt. So that is our typical income, excuse me. Okay, so fixed bills. REC is our electric bill, daycare, while it can vary, I suppose, depending on how many days or if there's a holiday in there or whatever. I consider it a fixed expense because as long as it's a typical pay period, it's a set expense that I have to pay every time. Church, I consider my giving to the church is a fixed expense for us, non-negotiable. Life insurance, this is a fixed expense, and this will be changing. I'm not sure when. I have a meeting with a different life insurance person next week, but for right now, that is a fixed expense or has been. Gendro is our garbage. We live out in the country. We have we own a dumpster and someone comes weekly to empty it. So I guess I'm gonna put this in here because this is typical. So my mom pays me for half of that garbage bill because she lives right down the road and we both utilize it. XM radio is a fixed expense for my husband's vehicle. So car insurance, actually let's do cell phone, Netflix, Amazon Prime, truck. I wondered if that was going to happen. Okay, so, and then our HELOC is the last specific fixed expense. That is, it is our home equity loan. And I suppose, anyway, we'll talk a little bit more about that because there's some of these that I consider more fixed expenses, but I didn't give myself enough room under fixed. They're treated like sinking funds. Anyway, we'll start out with doing that. I budget $300 for the electric bill. In a month, it is $560 for daycare, $300 to church, $139 for life insurance, $83 for our garbage bill, $7 for XM radio, $200 for our cell phone. Using whole numbers. Okay, so it's like 11 for Netflix and 8 for Amazon Prime. So right now the HELOC loan is at like 405, I think is the payment that's due May 1st. So that is dependent. The payment is 1% of the balance on it. And so basically the maximum that it would be is like 501, but it's not at its maximum right now. It might be later because there are some projects that we're planning on doing this summer. And then the truck, 447 if I round that up. I hate that being in my budget. We put federal returns, state returns, and some money from the farm on it. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to put some more money from the farm on it sometime in May or June. Love to get it a lot closer to paid off. It is our farm truck, and we had our budget going pretty well until my husband's truck died and we needed to buy another one. So those are fixed. If I go down to sinking funds and how we do our sinking funds, so my car insurance is a sinking fund, vehicle registration is a sinking fund, my beach body is a sinking fund, car gas is a sinking fund, LP is a sinking fund, and Christmas is a sinking fund. So for car insurance, there has been just a whole thing with car insurance, and I had it figured out, and now I have to go back and remember because it changed. So I will be saving $270 for car insurance going forward. That's not what it was for the month of May, I guess, so I better not put that on there. The month of May, it was like $3. No, I'm gonna do it. Let's try that differently. Okay, so I have that all set up, and in even rounding up, $270 is what I'm planning on for my car insurance sinking fund. We pay that every 6 months, and not only is it car insurance, it is car and homeowners insurance. They're two separate policies, but they both come due at the same time. So that is for the property that we own for homeowners, and then we have we have a truck, a van, a Suburban, a motorcycle, and a Kawasaki Mule on the vehicle insurance. So it's quite a few things bundled into one. Sorry about that. I got interrupted by a child who saw a bunny in our yard. He does not like bunnies. So anyway, so car registration, if I do that correctly, yeah, that's $50 a month. Currently I'm putting a little bit more in because I really did forget to reconfigure the amount after we bought my husband's truck. So that is going to cost more to register than his previous truck. So I'm putting 75 in, I guess, until, no, so I'm going to put that in. I'll be putting 75 in for the next couple months until September when it's due. And then it will go back down to 50. I put $15 away for Beachbody so that I'm ready for next year's subscription. So car gas is interesting. I also have a mileage reimbursement that comes in. It's not income, but it would be inflow. I use that to put in my car gas sinking fund, which we buy in bulk. And then, so whatever that is, plus I've been really kind of trying to evaluate how much we actually need in there. So we're going to go with 100. Typically, I put between 100 and 150 in the LP and $50 a month in for Christmas. Okay, so then going up to variable expenses. Our variable expenses are, which these aren't really. Sometimes I have a hard time. So these are variable as well as cash envelopes. So they're not really variable, like they're pretty fixed, but they are cash envelopes. And I guess if we had, they're not bills. So if we had to change something, that's probably where it would happen. I'm working on adding some more of these, you know, either between sinking fund or, you know, just like a cash envelope. And just trying to figure out how I want to do that currently. All right, so groceries is $2.80 a paycheck. Apologies, something very loudly hit my window and I went to see if it was a kid doing something they shouldn't do, and it wasn't, so I have no idea what that was, but it was pretty frightening. Okay, so groceries is $5.60 on a normal 2 paycheck month. My husband's spending cash is $120. My spending is $120. So eating out is one of those areas that I very frequently can and do cut. I like to put $60 in there when I have the ability to, because it helps to keep us from swiping a debit card at restaurants. But if we're not able to, then it's pretty easy for me to leave that out and just plan to eat at home. Household and personal, that's a new one that I'm setting money aside for because that's a place I didn't have in my budget, and I was just using money, you know, after bills were paid and just relying on the, you know, the flex to cover things like that. So I have started setting $20 aside in gas, every paycheck. So that's $40 a month. Sorry. It's a hard shift to go from per paycheck to per month. So that's $40. So I've already sitting down and I'm planning to take out 20. Well, I have 20 in there from the last paycheck that I didn't use. And then I was I haven't used yet. It's not payday yet. But then I'm thinking, okay, what do we need? And is that 20 going to be enough? Or do I need, you know, probably just add another 20? So pull-ups and wipes is usually something that I make a once a month purchase for. And that's gone down. But I think last time I made an order, it ended up being right around $60. So I'm going to budget about 60. And then I have been putting away either 5 or 10 a paycheck for my husband's haircut. He doesn't get a haircut super often. That is another one of those things that I've been doing and trying to set up some new sinking funds or figure out different ways I can save for his haircuts, my hair, which I don't get done very often, but how to budget for some of those other things that don't happen as often. And then so the other thing on here is the 5-star diesel bill, which used to get $100. I haven't really figured out a great way to do that yet, so I just do it like that. We are still saving for our emergency fund. We did have a big sinking fund for summer daycare, which I funded that to the extent that I think it will be appropriate. I actually need to change the daycare amount on here because I did not. I'm upping it a little bit for summer because if I up it a little bit and supplement it out of the sinking fund that I've created, then I'll be good to get through the summer for sure. So yeah, and I'm going to add these up because it's one of those things that I'm like, when the math doesn't math, right? And you're like, I have to cut something. And that's why, so I'm not going to put anything in for mileage reimbursement because I do not know that until the end of the previous month. Total fixed is $25.40, $8.60 in sinking funds. When you stop and you're like, no, I totally know that I have more money. Oh, maybe not. Oh, well, that's exciting. It's always nice to see that happen. So if I look at it that way, actually, I just realized that I budgeted $60 for eating out when that would be per paycheck. I told you I was having a hard time with that. Okay. $11.40. All right, so if I go here, $49.10 minus $25.40 leaves $23.70 minus $8.60 leaves $15.10 minus $11.40. $15.10, I think I added that. $15.10 minus $11.40 leaves $370. So in theory, that's pretty much what we're doing at this point, is doing our emergency fund. I can tell you that real life does not look like this budget because at the end of May, I will not have $370, but it's to put in my emergency fund. But it's one of those things like, well, in the month of May, I think we had 5 different graduations. So those were, you know, a few bucks a piece. And so it's just different things, but like for that come up that I list here under other, or that I just kind of do as they come up. Like they're planned expenses, but if I just look at a typical month where I'm just looking at my budget, that would leave $370 left to put in my emergency fund, which would be $0 left over. That is what, and I'm looking and I'm like, $370 after all of my stuff paid seems like a lot. That seems like a lot of extra when I don't feel like there's that much money left over. But that's how I'm doing a typical monthly budget. I'm gonna run quickly through this one, which will be our June budget, which will just have an extra paycheck. So this will be like the magic month, or the golden whatever. I don't know. I've heard it called just like a whole bunch of things. And so I will see what that ends up being. I'm going to write all of these in, and then I can come back to you. You don't have to watch me write all of these at normal speed. I actually did a mock-up of this paycheck because I had some ideas. All right, so I think that is everything that I need on that. So my income with 3 paychecks would look like approximately $29.03, and his would look like $39.50. Dependent Flex is still $416 because that's not taken out of that 3rd check, and my mom would still pay me $41 for her half. REC, I would still budget $300. Daycare, I would be paying it 3 times because I still need daycare. That's an all the time expense. Church would be $450. Pay that each time. That's still $139. Gendro is $83. XM is $7. Cell phone bills $200. Netflix is $11. Amazon Prime is $8. The truck is $447, and the HELOC is about $405. Car insurance would be $270. Car registration would be $75. $15 to Beachbody. $300 for gas. $100 for LP. And $50 for Christmas. Groceries would be $840 for 3 paychecks. My spending would be $180. My husband's spending would be $180, and eating out would be $180. And that's it. Like, there's no way that we would put $180 in there. We just haven't really been utilizing eating out cash that often. $60 for household and personal care. I'm gonna put $80 under pull-ups, and I don't think it's probably that much, but I'm gonna put $30 under his haircut. 5-star diesel would be $100. Property taxes. So this is something that we pay in full every 6 months. Since we don't have a mortgage, it is not anything that is included in a mortgage, so it is due in September and March. And that's what we do. We don't use a sinking fund for that. We use this third check that happens twice a year. So I'm budgeting. I don't know yet what it is going to be, as they're still getting reconfigured, but I budget about $1,000 for that. And then my plan for this, I'm actually going to have in the month of June, I am planning to have about $600 from BioLife as additional income, and that $600 is going to go into my preschool sinking fund. It's kind of a long story and nobody asked, but I have always struggled with too many options. Ooh, it's a big income month. Always struggled with too many options, and I'm just not sure when it comes to pre-K. This year I will have 2 kids in pre-K, 1 in 3-year-old pre-K and 1 in 4-year-olds. And just the options with that, and the waiting lists and the costs and the needing to be potty trained, and there were just lots of different things that kind of went into that. And so I don't know yet how it's going to go, but I would feel a lot better about it because I have my 4-year-old, or the one who will be in 4-year-old preschool, was in Head Start this past year with no pay needing to be paid, and I have potentially the opportunity to get all my kids in the same building for the first time in 4 years. I guess the drawback is I will have to pay for both of those pre-K programs, the pre-K part as well as like the extended day stuff for the daycare on the Wednesdays when they don't have pre-K, and for the 3-year-old, since her pre-K class would be like half days, I'd have to pay for the afternoons. They have all that available in the same building. It's fantastic, but it just requires the cost like everything else. So I thought if I could save up at least like the 4-year-old's tuition to balance what, see, that's so silly. I mean, it's not silly, but I'm like, there's just no way there's going to be $840 extra for me to put in my emergency fund. That seems ludicrous. But that's my theory. Anyway, so I thought if I could save up enough to cover her year of tuition, because like I'm already paying for the 3-year-old currently to be in daycare full time, and it really wouldn't be that much different for her to move to the pre-K program versus daycare. So I'm already doing that. That wouldn't be much of a monetary switch. So I was just kind of hoping to be able to save up with some things we weren't expecting, be able to save up the 4-year-old preschool year-long tuition so that if we do have to pay that entirely out of pocket, that I have that available. That would make me feel a lot better about it. So the total income with all that stuff coming in is $79.10. My total fixed expenses would be $3,010. So that's a difference of $4,900. My sinking funds are $810 with a difference of $4,090. My variable expenses, $3,250, leaving $840 to go to my emergency fund. And it's interesting because, like I said, there's just no way. That's absolutely not what that's going to look like. But because miscellaneous things happen, and I've budgeted in all of the flex money, and that's, you know, what we use on those miscellaneous expenses. And, you know, we're trying to use less of it because I have added, you know, eating out and household and personal stuff, but things still come up. Like, do we have any, I think I'm paying for the summer program stuff and oh yeah. So, and out of this, I have 2 more graduation cards to write. 2 graduation cards, which is, oh, and then Google One actually is going to come up. I decided, if I decide to do this, that's $22 for a year. The graduations are $40. There's some summer programs that I'm going to have my son go to. So, I know those things are coming up at the first check. So let's do that again. 40 plus 22 plus 45 is 107. So I would technically, in theory, have $733 to put in my emergency fund. So it'll be interesting to see at the end of June how much money actually goes into my emergency fund. So those are my pretty simple monthly budget overview at a glance. This is the golden months, or the June. Just so I have that for reference. Like, sometimes I come back and I look at my stuff and I'm like, Paula, are you okay? Just because I'm like, where did you get that math? Like, you don't make that in a month, that kind of thing. So, and then I will put May budget. So, it'll be interesting for me, for my reference, to come back and see. But it was nice to see everything laid out. Sometimes that's hard to do. If I could do this template again, I'd do more fixed expenses because I treat some of these like fixed expenses. Anyway, so that is what I have for today. Thanks for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to come back and see my randomness. Thanks y'all, and have a great